He is going to be excused. He's a little late. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Lakewood City Council agenda for Monday, November 18, 2019. Madam Clerk, if you'd call our meeting to order or give the roll call.
Councilmember Barth. Present. Councilmember Boki has been excused. Councilmember Brandstetter. Here. Councilmember Moss. Here. Councilmember Simpson. Here. Deputy Mayor Whalen.
Present.
And Mayor Anderson has been excused. You have a quorum.
Very good. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag, followed by a moment of silence to our men and women serving overseas. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate all of you attending tonight. We have some proclamations and presentations, the first of which is a business showcase, which we very much enjoy doing here in the city of Lakewood. And we are honoring tonight Steeped in Comfort. So would Ms. Heather Todd and Mr. Benjamin Todd join Marie Barth and I at the podium? Welcome, come on up. Well, as I mentioned, we very much enjoy honoring our local businesses here in the city of Lakewood, and we try to do it in a big way, so you get two for the price of one tonight. Walk through the doors of Steeped in Comfort, and it's like walking into Grandma's house.
From the handmade flowered pattern tablecloths to the fire flickering in the fireplace and smells of roasted chicken soup simmering on the stove, the quaint tea room and restaurant has cozy covered.
Heather and Benjamin Todd have operated Steeped in Comfort since 2006. That's when Benjamin Todd's mother, Margie Todd, purchased the business from its original owners.
Margie Todd retired in 2015, leaving the couple to run the day-to-day operations of the business located at 11016 Gravelly Lake Drive, Southwest. The duo are the only employees.
Which is a challenge for a small business, so welcome to Small Businesshood. Steeped in Comfort offers a traditional tea room experience with a casual atmosphere. That includes having a little fun. A hat box filled with fancy hats sits on a table for guests to wear.
There are more than 60 loose leaf teas to choose from at Steeped in Comfort, and guests who come for the high tea are served a steaming teapot with a tower of scones, pastries, deep dish quiche, and finger sandwiches, all made from scratch.
The tea room is available for events like birthday parties or bridal or baby showers, and there is a semi-private space in the back for groups up to 8 people. It's open Tuesday to Friday from 11 to 5 and Saturday 11 to 4, and I would surmise that these two hardworking owners work beyond those time slots as well as prior to the opening.
It's because of this one-of-a-kind offerings, including its wide selection of teas and daily made comfort foods, and because of the Todd's dedication to offering a unique dining experience in Lakewood, that the Lakewood City Council recognizes Steeped in Comfort as its November 2019 business showcase.
Congratulations. So
Can I just say one thing?
you may.
Thank you. I just want to let everyone know that I'm a frequent flyer here. The quiche is dynamite, the cookies, the tea, and the smiling faces. They send me out the door with a cup of hot soup, and I disappear to God knows where. So anyway, thanks for feeding me for all these years.
Don't you use that as your second office, too?
Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll take a quick photograph. I wanted to bring my better half up here so we get a good picture. And you guys get to say a few words if you'd like. Yeah.
Go ahead.
There you go, Todd.
Well, thank you so much. We are super honored by this. We love the city. We love the people. It's warm. I grew up in Shelton, and so I feel overly welcomed in this city, and I can't say more good things about it.
I would just like to really say a big thank you to the city of Lakewood for making it possible with all of our loyal patrons, making it possible for my husband and I to be able to work together, build a business together. We hope to be here for years to come. Thank you.
very much. This is yours to keep.
Thank you.
Suitable for hanging, suitable for framing. Thank you very much. I
That is
appreciate it.
beautiful.
We'll get a quick photograph. We'll get everybody else down real quick, and we'll honor our business showcase. My glasses up there. I left my glasses up there. Next, we have a proclamation recognizing November as American Indian Heritage Month, and we are pleased to have Mr. Hanford McLeod, and I don't know if Jackie Whittington is here tonight to join me at the podium. Hanford? Sure. See you tonight.
Thank you.
Well, we are pleased to be able to enjoy such a fabulous relationship with the Nisqually tribe, and pleased that Hanford can join us here tonight. Hanford actually served with us a little bit on our Arts Commission, did some work with us on some of our public art projects, and we're very excited and pleased to be able to work collaboratively on that as many other projects in the city of Lakewood. As a prelude, we would like to provide this overview to a proclamation that the City Council is going to present tonight. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history which led to this moment. We would like to recognize that we are on the lands of the Nisqually people and acknowledge the history of dispossession that allowed for the growth of our community. We offer respect to the Nisqually people and their elders, past, present, and emerging. We recognize our responsibility to value all people and are committed to equitably serving all people in this diverse community. And with that, we are pleased as a council to present to you this proclamation. Whereas the Nisqually and Steilacoom people were the first inhabitants of what is now the city of Lakewood, using the prairie lands as a ready source of food and a gathering place, and
Whereas Native American contributions are woven deeply into our city's rich tapestry, and whereas Native Americans have influenced every stage of our city's development, and
Whereas Native Americans have played a vital role in our community, and their contributions have enhanced the prosperity and greatness of the city today. And whereas Native people have participated in every major U.S. military encounter from the Revolutionary War to today's conflicts in the Middle East, serving at a higher rate in proportion to their population than any other ethnic group. And
Whereas Native Americans are a testament to the deep importance of culture and vibrancy of tradition, passed down through generations. And whereas
Okay, and whereas our community reaffirms its commitment to respect and preserve the traditions and culture and to honor the unique heritage of our first inhabitants.
on behalf of all of us here in the City Council, on behalf of our mayor, our council members, our senior executive staff, and all citizens and residents, now therefore be it resolved that the Lakewood City Council does hereby proclaim November 2019 as American Indian Heritage Month, here in the city of Lakewood, and we call upon all citizens to commemorate this month with appropriate programs and activities. Proclaim this 18th day of November 2018, Don Anderson, Mayor. Sir, we honor you with this proclamation and would welcome a few words. Sir. And we'll get a picture with the whole council after you have a chance to.
Thank you. Well, good evening. My name's Howeekwadai Hanford McLeod from the Nisqually Indian Tribe, and you know, it's probably a great honor for myself too to kind of represent my people. You know, I know it's a big task on what we've set forth as Nisqually, and there's a lot of municipalities around us, and you are one of the biggest ones, I believe, that step forth into this realm to acknowledge that in such resolution, that when I take it back to my people, they are starting, I shouldn't say starting, but you know, it seems like that relationship's getting better and better as I see it from my generation. And this is the second time I've come here. I know last time I brought my boys here and we sang a song, you know, and that song, you know, that we sing kind of identifies of who we are, not just within this realm here, but within the spirit realm also, and acknowledging that as we set forth and working in this has been a great pleasure to myself, sharing my story, sharing my experience, working in other areas of the city where I'm helping input that story of my people, you know, and I'm that tool or that receptor there that I'm using to get my grandma's message across, which I think is really important. But hers was because she had that dream to see this within cities, you know, and you guys, you know, I raised my hand in that gesture to show that, you know, it's a very, very strong, I wouldn't say spiritual, but it's a emotional, you know, state now, where I'm that generation healing from that as we move forward, and doing my best to share that message amongst schools, amongst cities that are surrounding my people and Nisqually Upsh people. So I know I couldn't bring a song, but we are working in other realms of the area where coming up in this festival this summer, you know, we're going to put a strong showing in there of some song and dance to show that. You know, we do a lot of that on the other side of the prairie, where I say Yelm and that side of the river, you know, where I see the territory was split by the Nisqually River, you know, on both sides of our prairie. So grew up on that side, did a lot of work on that side, and it's good to see on this side of the spectrum, or the prairie, right, where I like to say that, doing a lot of good work, really good work. I feel that on my side of this is where I put forth that work into the schools, you know, and that's one of my goals, especially here in Clover Park School District and over on this side of the river, to get more of that culture and more of that heritage that we have, that I've been sharing a lot more so. And again, this is a really good, thank you.
Next, we are proud to recognize our Small Business Saturday, November 30, 2019, And for this, we would love to have Ms. Linda Smith, our Lakewood Chamber of Commerce President, join us with Mr. John Simpson.
You ready for speech? All right. You can sit down if you like. It could be a while. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Before I begin, I'd like to make a few comments about the misnomer concerning small business. There is no such thing. And the reason I say that is because I knew I would be doing this tonight, because if I hadn't have asked the deputy mayor, I was going to ask the mayor to do this. My research shows, as of 2019, there are 28.8 million, quote, small businesses in the United States, and they have 56.8 million employees. Moreover, they contribute over 50% to the nation's gross national product. That's not small. Moreover, 99.7% of all businesses in the United States, and small businesses are defined as those businesses of 500 employees and less. 99.7% of businesses in the United States are, quote, small businesses. 99.7 out of 100 is not small. So with this in mind, I would like to read this proclamation. Whereas the City of Lakewood, Washington recognizes and values the dedication and entrepreneurial spirit of small businesses that keep the state and the American economy growing stronger, and whereas there are 150,000 small businesses with employees in Washington, along with the additional 400,000 small businesses comprised of sole owners, and whereas there are over 4,000 small businesses in the City of Lakewood that account for a significant share of the city's economic production and hiring, and whereas it is the collaborative mission of the city working in partnership with the Lakewood Chamber of Commerce to help our businesses grow and create new jobs within the City of Lakewood by providing exemplary programs, referrals, resources, counseling, and championing on behalf of the small business community, and whereas the City of Lakewood appreciates the support provided to our small businesses by the Lakewood Chamber of Commerce, and whereas on November 30th, 2019, the Lakewood Chamber of Commerce is recognizing and celebrating Small Business Saturday and the Shop Local campaign. Now, therefore, the Lakewood City Council hereby proclaims November 30th, 2019 as Small Business Saturday, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and celebrate the achievements made by, quote, small businesses, both locally and nationally. Proclaimed this 18th day of November 2019, Don Anderson, Mayor. Thank you, Linda, for everything you and the Chamber and the 4,000 small businesses in this city do. Would you like to say some words? Go ahead. Sure.
One for each of the council members and staff, if you will. Okay. Well, good evening, council members. Hello, staff, hardworking staff. Good evening. And good evening to my fellow citizens here in the city of Lakewood. You know, small businesses are a fabric of not only the chamber, but our community. And we celebrate them each and every day. And we're proud to support our small and independent businesses. And we're very, very proud that the city of Lakewood also does the same in acknowledging them on a regular basis, because they are not the ones that are invited to the really big events where they get the huge plaques and enjoy all of the falderal and the ceremonies. They're busy working every single day, opening their doors and closing at night. So we'd like to call attention to our small businesses as frequently as possible because they are so valuable to our community and they make such distinct contributions, not only to Lakewood, but to the entire region. And, you know, one of the things that you might see on social media on occasion is the fact that people will post, small businesses might charge you a few cents more. But small businesses are the ones that pay for your kids' jerseys. They're the ones that support your children's lemonade stands when they need a place to open up shop. These are the businesses that are about the community, and they're constantly giving back in any way that they can. And, you know, one of the things that I have observed, and I'm sure we all have, is that the retail landscape in particular is evolving, and it's evolving quickly. And so it's more important than ever to back our small businesses that are vital to creating a thriving economy. When you walk into a small business, they know you're there. And if they see you more than once, they generally know who you are. And when we go and shop local and we shop small, do not underestimate that those people are so appreciative of your commitment to them because they are certainly committed to our community. So at the Chamber, we truly believe that together we can all make a difference. So I encourage you to shop small, shop local as frequently as possible. And I thank you very much for the time here at this podium.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. One more photo over here. So. Well, very good. We always enjoy doing the proclamations and presentations here at the City of Lakewood. And before we jump into the public comment section of tonight's agenda, I just want to take a moment of personal privilege and recognize Councilmember-elect Linda Farmer, who's in the audience tonight. I know the vote still needs to be certified and all that fancy stuff at the end of the month of November, but we just want to say congratulations, and we look forward to serving with you. Public comment. This is the time that members of the audience may comment on items relating to any matter related to city business, whether it's on the agenda or not. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. If you represent a group, you will have a little extra time, up to 10 minutes. Please designate the group for which you speak. And in all cases, please identify yourself when you come to the podium with your name and residence address. Those who have signed in to speak to the council tonight on the sign-in sheet, include those on the list, but don't let that deter you. If you didn't get a chance to sign up on the list, you're welcome to address the council in public comment nonetheless. Just approach the podium. First we have, looks like, Deanna Garza. Did I say it completely wrong? Oh, Dennis Haugen. Dennis. Did you pass 5th grade penmanship, my friend? Holy guacamole. Yeah, no, I can't read it at all. It looks like a G. It's not an H.
Dennis Haugen, Lakewood, Washington. You know, we found from recent CNN news that the news is pretty well controlled. In other words, you don't get the news. Zucker is intimidated. He's got his tapes of him intimidating his reporters, and you got to stay on impeachment and slander and use slanderous adjectives. Well, I haven't been across the country. Trump is just honored everywhere for his economic growth. But there's one place that is really interesting. See here?
I can't see anything.
It's the Black African community is developing new leaders, young leaders, smart leaders, articulate leaders. And they're meeting at the White House at least once a month. And it was their idea, coming out of it, was the opportunity zones, which has lifted many communities up. Now we'll go down to the next one there to see how the leaders growing. And I look and I said, you know, the way you look, and the first thing I look is how many followers does he have? He had like 700,000 followers. I said, whoa. You know, oftentimes I'll be impressed by somebody. So we have to wait for him or her. But this guy has a following like very few people. Very successful guy. Say a few words. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a little too tall for me. I just want to say I love President Donald J. Trump. Usually about 500 in that room.
Thank you, Mr. Haugen. Next on the sign-in sheet to address the council during public comment, Carrie Hills. Carrie?
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, council members. My name is Kerry Hills. I've been a lifelong resident here in the city of Lakewood. I think the last time I came and spoke, it was in regards to schools and how the city put some pressure on the school district in regards to Woodbrook and the closing out there, and I think the shortfall that it provides to the community out there. Tonight, I'm again here to speak about schools. I think it's great that you guys had a lot of proclamations in regarding business tonight. The things that make up a vibrant community are business that want to have people live here, work here. I was at a meeting earlier tonight, and that sounded like the city was getting beat up a little bit about a lot of the empty storefronts currently around the area here in Lakewood Town Center, and I know down the street a little ways where the old QFC used to be. But the other thing that makes up a great, vibrant community is a good education system. In my opinion, the education system here in Lakewood is failing. And some of the stuff I brought, I know you guys won't be able to see it, but this here shows the different school districts in Pierce County. Culver Park is second to the bottom, only lower than Franklin, or only above Franklin Pierce as far as test scores go. The school district recently sent out a newsletter here that says schools are not fully funded. However, we all know the McCleary decision recently funded, fully funded education. So the one thing that I think is important to know, that the school district now is asking for a levy that's going to be a replacement levy, and they keep saying it's not a new levy, it's a replacement levy. However, it is a new levy because it's requiring a new vote of the people, and that vote is coming after public education has been fully funded. I'm not sure that any of you are going to be able to sway your counterparts on the school district board. There needs to be a change education-wise, but for years, going back, I believe, to Dr. Doris Walker, school district test scores have been horrible. If we don't have kids coming up in the community with a good education, the city is not going to continue to thrive and be a viable community, in my opinion. So I am going to do my best to counter the new levy that they're asking for. I'm not sure if you know, teachers are always said, oh, we get underpaid. You can go to a website that shows what teacher pay is. Some of the teachers are getting paid $60 an hour. The cost currently, I just came from a meeting this evening showing how much the school district is paying per student for education. It's over $16,000 per student, which is up there near the tuition rates for Bellarmine, but you certainly aren't getting the bang for your buck with the test scores compared to what Bellarmine is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the audience that wish to address the council during the public comment period? Anyone else? If not, yes, ma'am. Please go ahead and approach the podium. And all we need is a name and residence.
My name is Barbie Sheik, and I've been living in Lakewood for about 12 years.
Thank you.
And my daughter attends the Clover Park School District. But I have this very high concern upon the homelessness. It's really bad in the state of Washington, and it's getting pretty bad in Lakewood also, too. So I have Tacoma Weekly newspaper. It talks about the homeless encampments and public places where the people have to live. And it's getting cold and stuff outside. So a lot of people out there is not homeless because they're on drugs, their mental state. Because almost a year ago, my daughter and I'm a single parent, and my daughter and I almost became homeless. And it's because of the Washington State doesn't have a rent cap. And every time the economy goes up pretty much, the landlords can jump with the rate height. And a lot of time they don't go like $25 or $50 increase. Most of the time it's like $100, $150, sometimes $175, you know, with the increase of, and that's making a lot of people homeless. So I don't know who I need to talk to or get in a group with someone to start working towards a rent cap in the state of Washington, because it's, you know, homelessness is a big problem. And it's getting worse. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for coming.
Okay.
Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Are there any other members of the audience who wish to address the council tonight during the public comment period? Anyone else? Mr. Haugen, if I used a different name, you might get a second bite of the apple, but since you've already been up here, I'll count that done. Yeah. I'll declare the public comment period closed. Thank you, Ms. Garza. Next, we turn to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
A, approval of the minutes of the City Council study session of October 28th, 2019. B, approval of the minutes of the City Council meeting of November 4th, 2019. C, motion number 2019-73, authorizing the execution of an amendment to the agreement with DP Excavation, increasing spending in the amount of $30,332.40 for the demolition of properties at Springbrook Park. D, motion number 2019-74, approving the 2020 Human Services funding recommendations. E, motion number 2019-75, approving the 2020 lodging tax funding recommendations. F, motion number 2019-76, approving the 2019 accounts receivable write-offs. G, Resolution Number 2019-20, setting a public hearing on January 6, 2020 to consider the vacation of the eastern 70 feet of Walnut Street Southwest right-of-way east of the intersection with Langlow Street Southwest. H, Resolution Number 2019-21, setting the City of Lakewood 2020 fee schedule. I, Ordinance Number 720, relating to the ad valorem property taxes, establishing the amount to be raised in 2020 by taxation on the assessed valuation of the property of the city and setting the property tax levy rate for 2020. J, Ordinance Number 721, amending the 2019 to 2020 biennial budget. K, Ordinance Number 722, approving and confirming the assessment roll certified to the City Council on September 16, 2019, for the cost of the improvement in Local Improvement District 1109, Panattoni Woodbrook Development in the City of Lakewood pursuant to Ordinance Number 717, adopted on September 16, 2019, and levying and assessing the amount thereof against the lots, tracts, parcels of land, and other property shown on the assessment roll, providing the prepayment of assessments, and providing for the disposition of monies collected upon said assessment. L, Ordinance Number 723, authorizing the issuance of the Local Improvement District 1109 Panattoni Woodbrook Development bond in the principal amount of not to exceed $922,757.02 to finance and/or reimburse the city for cost of certain improvements within Local Improvement District Number 1109 Panattoni Woodbrook Development, delegating the authority to select the initial purchaser of the bond and delegating the authority to approve the final terms of the bond.
Thank you very much. Are there any items of the consent agenda that any council member wish to be removed at this time? Councilmember Brandstetter.
I'd like to remove item H.
Are there any other items on the consent agenda which any council member wishes to remove? Mr. Simpson.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I would like to request the removal of item number J.
Very good. At this time, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda minus items H and J?
So moved, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Very good. All those in favor? Yes, sir. You want to move to item number H?
I would just like to note for the record that one of the items on the consent agenda is approval of the lodging tax recommendations. And one of the agencies that's recommended to receive funds is the Lakewood Sister Cities Association. And I would just want to disclose that I have a remote attachment to that organization and that I'm on their board, but that it isn't a financial type situation, and I don't think it disqualifies me from being able to vote on this matter.
Thank you very much. I believe I had a motion to adopt the consent agenda with a second. So moved by Mr. Simpson, seconded by Councilmember Barth to adopt the consent agenda minus items H and J at this time. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the consent agenda minus items H and J, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda has been adopted. We now turn to item number H. Mr. Brandstetter.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I have some amendments regarding the fee schedule and the accompanying resolution that I'd like to make, primarily to, one, to correct what I think is a Scrivener's error, and two, to add some clarity. And if I may, I would like to move to amend the fee schedule, which is on page 61 of our packet, where the item under plan review fees currently reflects an hourly fee calculation of $85, and that be amended to $92, which was a matter that was, as it is, consistent with the remainder of the fee schedule for Community and Economic Development Department fees. And additionally, I'd like to amend the third whereas of the resolution such that it will read, whereas in keeping with the philosophy of setting city fees in amounts reflective of actual costs, it is appropriate at this time to revise certain fees to compensate the city for costs and adopted cost recovery goals associated with various city functions and facilities.
Very good. Do we have a second to Mr. Branstedter's motion to amend the fee schedule and to adopt the additional language referenced?
So seconded.
Been seconded by Mr. Simpson to amend the motion as articulated by Mr. Branstetter. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Branstetter.
Well, let me just explain that we received a very thorough evaluation of the hourly fees within the Community and Economic Development Department from staff that was used to adjust fees throughout the schedule. And I believe that the one fee that remained at $85 an hour is just an oversight. And the change to $92 an hour is for consistency with the rest of the schedule. The changing in the whereas is that I think that it's important to articulate that while we are looking at actual costs when we set our fees, that 100% recovery of all our actual costs is not our policy goal, that we have identified cost recovery goals that are below 100% in community economic development, public works and engineering, and parks, where there is the fees pay for things that are also of public benefit, and so it's appropriate to, in a limited way, subsidize them. And thus my adding reference to the terms of that we have cost recovery goals and that they're not all 100%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to amend the fee schedule and to add the additional language in item H for Resolution 2019-21 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item H has been adopted. We now move to Mr. Branstetter.
Deputy Mayor, I think what we've adopted is the amendment.
Correct.
Now we have to adopt the resolution.
That's correct.
Very good. Do we have any further discussion on the resolution and amendment as adopted? I think we have an overall motion on the floor. All those in favor of adopting the item H signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item H as amended is adopted. We now turn to item J. Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I would like to move that we amend the proposed 2019-2020 mid-biennium budget adjustment in order to add $102,000 in one-time revenues and expenditures in 2019 for Fund 195, the Public Safety Grants, to capture the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority grant, or the WAPTA grant.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Councilmember Simpson and seconded by Councilmember Moss that we amend item H as indicated. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We now turn to item number J as amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adoption of item J as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item J, the consent agenda, has been adopted. We now turn to the regular agenda for unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before the council?
There's none, Deputy Mayor.
New business tonight?
No, Deputy Mayor, none.
This could be a record evening, except we are turning to reports by the city manager. Mr. Caulfield.
No pressure.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, Council. I just have a few items to report on, about 18 or 19 things.
Perfect.
First off, I'd like to recognize the Lakewood Police Department. They had a very busy week last week, including taking into custody the 2 men who have been charged with murder. And In Cha Choi, who is the owner of the McCord Mart over in the Springbrook neighborhood a couple of weeks ago. Understand that one of the suspects, Marcus Williams, was actually arraigned earlier today and is being held on $2 million bond. But again, good work by our police department as well as working with partnering agencies to get the word out, and ultimately he surrendered. But also last week was a pretty busy week here in the city, and again, just want to commend LPD for all the great work that they did in addressing a number of public safety issues. Actually, including this morning, the big traffic mess on I-5, it was LPD that went down after the car ran into a bunch of the first responder vehicles and other vehicles, and helped take the 2 individuals into custody, as well as taken possession of the dog, because the 2 folks actually had a dog in their car, and somebody needed to take care of the dog. So, you might have mentioned, you might have heard a couple of months ago, or maybe it was earlier this year, the city was being considered by the South Sound Proud for putting a mural artist picture down in American Lake Park. And I just wanted to let you know that we have been selected, and so there'll be more information to come on that in terms of the process and how we want to go about that. With that comes a $3,500 award to help the city help pay for that. One of the ideas that Ms. Dodsworth and Ms. Grimley have is maybe this is something that we want to run through the Arts Commission and get their involvement and participation. But again, more to come on that, and just wanted to pass that good news on to you. Last Wednesday, the Library Board of Trustees, they had their meeting, and in summary, they directed the library executive director and her team to continue with public engagement, as well as moving to the planning phase of what it will take to build new libraries, not just in Lakewood, but also Sumner. We are 2 communities that are way out ahead of everybody else as it relates to bringing those new facilities to their respective communities. And so, as a part of that, they also had a discussion on when would be the optimal time to potentially bring a capital bond forward to the Lakewood voters, as well as Sumner voters, for consideration. And right now, they're looking at 2022. And the reason not 2021 is because it's expected that in November of 2020, the presidential election will be a very large turnout. And so the validation for voter-considered initiatives in 2021 is going to be very, very high. That's not to say that that won't change in terms of where the library wants to go, but that's their current thought process right now. The good news on that is it certainly gives the library and the city and other partners, a good amount of time to work through this. As you folks are aware, one of the things that you've asked to be included in that is perhaps a community senior center. We've also had conversations with the library district about perhaps incorporating a performing arts center, and they've begun to have conversations with, for example, the Lakewood Playhouse on that. Kind of a new and emerging item as it relates to Joint Base Lewis McCord and our partnership there. The base is always looking at opportunities to see how they can do things in a more cost-effective manner. And one of them is in the area of libraries. Perhaps, the library district could provide library services in support of JBLM at a lower cost than what they're currently doing it. But that could also provide an opportunity perhaps to build library annexes in both the Tillicum and Springbrook neighborhood, both very underserved neighborhoods here in Lakewood. So those are just some of the conversations that we're having, and I'm sure that's going to continue with the community at large as we look out into the rest of this year into 2020 and even 2021. So more to come on that. One of the things that I've also suggested is maybe some kind of a joint meeting with the Board of Trustees in this body in 2020 to kind of talk more about this. Speaking of partnerships, the city and the Clover Park School District had a really unique partnership last week. It was last Thursday, where a number of our police officers were over at Lockburn Middle School engaging in quote-unquote real talk. Hearing from students their perspective as it relates to police and public safety and vice versa. And I've heard a number of unsolicited positive feedbacks throughout the community on Friday and actually over the weekend as well as I was out and about. And I really want to thank the leadership of Chief Zarro for taking this on, and particularly wanted to call out and mention our officers that were there. Sergeant John Frazier, who's actually in the back there, Sergeant Charles Porsche, Detective Les Bunton, who actually worked with the Lakewood Multicultural Coalition to help bring this together as well. And then officers Ken Henson, Ralph Rocco, and Joel Pettit. So it was really positive reflection, not just on them, but the city and the community as a whole. Something that we were notified about midweek last week is the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency. So they are proposing a clean fuel standards. And what we have been told, or what we have learned, is that potentially could lead to an increase in the gas tax of anywhere between 22 cents to 57 cents per gallon in Pierce, King, Snohomish, and Kitsap counties, which is the air agency's service area. That's kind of what we know. Even though we're a member, they have not reached out to us. Not sure if they've reached out to other member cities on this. But how we found out about it was through our involvement on a number of economic development fronts, particularly the Manufacturing Industrial Committee, as well as the Tacoma-Pierce County Chamber. So I wanted to bring this information to you because they are going to be holding a public hearing on December 19th. And as it stands right now, and they're seeking public comment, as it stands right now and in terms of what we know, more than doubling the gas tax rate. I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing to do or what's it going to be used for. So my suggestion would be we should write a letter opposing this. But rather than jumping into that, I'd like a little bit of time to find out a little bit more information about what's going on and what they're proposing. And actually, do they even have the legal authority to do something like this? Because increasing the gas tax, is my understanding, rests with the voters and/or the state legislature. So not quite sure how a standalone independent agency can do something like this. But I'd like to maybe come back to you in another week or two with some more information on that, if you could just indulge me and give me a little bit of time to find out what's going on. Again, we just found out, midweek last week on this particular issue. Bill Adamson and Becky Newton, our Economic Development Manager and SSMCP Program Director, they met with the property owners and businesses in the North Clear Zone that are impacted by potentially clearing the North Clear Zone someday as we look out 10, 15, 20, or even 30 years, however long it's going to take, given that we now have an agreement with the Department of Defense. Overall, the meeting went very, very well. Matter of fact, a couple of businesses jumped in and said, hey, we want to be first in line. A couple other businesses said, hey, we want to be kind of toward the latter part, because that's the latter part of maybe 15 or 20 years out, because that's when I plan on retiring, and that would be a good time. And that's fine, because we don't have all the money right now. It's going to take 20 years to get the funding from DOD, and then, of course, matching monies from both the state and local governments. But overall, it went well, and we'll continue that process. Right now, our primary focus is Tactical Taylor. Also, Casey Engels, the CEO and president of Tactical Taylor, has been and continues to be instrumental in serving as a liaison for us out in the North Clear Zone and those businesses out there, as well as there's a couple of other folks out there that have taken good leadership roles in this particular issue. This past Friday, our building official, Rafiq Gindi, sent a letter to the new owners of what's called the former QFC building. And as you know, the city's hearing examiner provided a November 15th deadline, which was Friday, for that new owner to come up with a plan on how to address the structural integrity of that building. Long story short, their folks sent something over. The hearing examiner says, at the end of the day, it's the building official's call on this, given it is a significant public safety issue. And in summary, kind of no surprise, actually, our building official sent them a letter stating that, you need to come in and you need to apply for permits to bring your building up to code, as identified in the International Building Code and the International Fire Code. And again pursuant to the hearing examiner's ruling, has given them until December 15th to do that, so gave them a month to do that. And then if not, it's our understanding that they will then move forward with demolishing the building. And again, that's consistent with the city's hearing examiner ruling from last month. So just wanted to keep you appraised of that. So again, they have two options. One is to bring the building up to code, if they don't wish to do that, or they can't because of the cost versus the value of the building, then they need to demolish it. Also like to point out that they have exercised all of their appeals based on the hearing examiner ruling from about a month ago or so. So they had two options, and again, the deadline has passed. They could have appealed the hearing examiner's ruling back to the hearing examiner for reconsideration, or they could have appealed that ruling to Superior Court. However, they have not done that, so as far as we're concerned, you know, they're out of options, but I'll leave that in their arena. On Friday, I had my monthly meeting with the school superintendent, and there was a couple of items that I wanted to bring up to you. One is the school board is moving forward with what they call their 4-year replacement educational programs and operations levy, and they expect to bring that forward to the voters for their consideration in February of 2020. And they have asked, once again, for the city council to consider supporting, passing a resolution or considering a resolution supporting this levy. You did this 4 years ago in 2016. If you're so inclined to do this, my recommendation is that you could hold that public hearing as soon as December 16th, because we need time to notice it for folks who are in favor as well as folks who perhaps are against it and those in between, to be able to come and testify at that public hearing. And then likewise, you could either take action that evening on the resolution, or you could carry it over to your next regular meeting on January 6th. The school district has suggested that given they're going to be going to the vote of the people in February, they would like to have a resolution, if it's going to be a resolution of support, to have that sooner rather than later. So the direction I'm looking from you this evening is, will December 16th work for all of you on that? The other request that they had was, the youth council comes once a month, and a representative of the Clover Park School Board comes and addresses this body. And they have asked that the school board members speak first, and then the youth council. And I know that I'm a messenger. It's your agenda. It's your itinerary. I've explained in the past, and I know that the council's discussed this in the past, that you wanted the youth council to go first for everybody to be here. But again, they're requesting that the school board member go first and then the youth council. So if you're so inclined to change that, let me know, and we can modify your agendas on that. So when I'm done here, those are two items that I'd like to come back to, Deputy Mayor, to get some direction from you. Our Public Works Engineering Director, Paul Busich, is going to be attending the TIB meeting, Transportation Improvement Board annual meeting this Friday at their request. This is a good thing on two fronts. Number one is because he is being asked to present our Complete Street project as part of our downtown sub-area plan, the Colonial Plaza project, given that they were a key partner in helping fund that. But also setting the stage for more Complete Street projects here in Lakewood. But also, we have 3 grant requests in the queue, and given the fact that they have invited us, or invited Paul, we can't think that they're going to invite Paul and then tell him, no, you didn't get any funding for one of our 3 projects. We believe that the project that the TIB is going to fund us for is the sidewalk, complete the sidewalk project on Lakewood Drive between, along Flett Creek there, around the Flett Creek area. But more to come. We should know on Friday on that. And then as we look out in the next week or so, I know we're coming into Thanksgiving. On Tuesday, November 26th, so a week from tomorrow, we're going to have our 10th annual Fallen Officer Food Drive, and that will be from 6 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And that's in partnership with EFN, and that'll be over at the police station. So please come by and, say hello. Of course, drop off some food goods. And also as a part of that, between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., we're going to have our 3rd annual blood drive over at the police station as well. So if you're interested in giving blood, let us know, and we'll need to get you registered for that. And Deputy Mayor, you do get food. You get a cookie and some orange juice. So.
Ixnay on the blood A.
So. And then on November 29th, at 8 a.m. over at Blue Steel Coffee, Chief Sorrow will be leading a recognition honoring our fallen four. And again, that'll be at 08 promptly in the morning at 8 a.m.
I'm sorry, which day?
That's a Friday. It's the day after Thanksgiving, November 29th. So that'll take us through the end of the year. I'm sorry, through the end of November. So with that, Deputy Mayor, that's my report. And then I just need some direction on those 2 items, the levy lid lift resolution, and then whether or not you want to change around your agenda.
Let's take the easier of the 2 first, which is whether we want to change our longstanding agenda with regard to the Youth Council's presentation, followed by other presentations such as the school district's report. Mr. Councilmember Simpson and then Mr. Branstetter.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. The purpose of education is to educate our youth. And one of the ways we do that is by listening to them. And in my world, that means they come first. And the adults, they should have the maturity to sit back and listen. Thank you.
Councilmember Branstetter.
I would not be in favor of changing the order. That from time to time, comments from the Youth Council stimulate in my mind questions or comments that I should then follow on choose to make to the school board member that is coming to meet with us and being able to go and do that. When we go to their meetings, yes, we are first, but there isn't a similar body to the youth council within the school board system. So I'd just like to see it here to do that. I think that earlier on in the next year, we're scheduled to have a joint meeting with the school board, and if they have some strong arguments about this, that's the time to listen to them. But I think we can go into the new year with the same agenda sequence.
Ms. Barth?
I totally agree with Councilmember Branstetter's analysis of that. Thank you.
Ms. Moss?
I question the reason for the request. Was there a reason why they wanted to change?
Councilmember Moss, I guess they want the youth council to hear what the school board member is saying, because sometimes I think some of the youth council members leave. But
I'm not in favor of changing.
Okay.
I would like to remain the same.
Very good. We could certainly ask the youth council members to stay and listen as well if that was an issue. I didn't know if it might be a scheduling issue for their Monday night, because I know sometimes when we present, if the meeting runs a little late, it's tough to get back here on time. So we can certainly bring it up with them at the joint session. Otherwise, it sounds like the consensus is to stay the same.
Because we had discussed the students going first so they would be able to get the homework done and do whatever they had to do after the session. That was why we had them going first.
Very good. As to the other item, Mr. Caulfield raised about the school board levy. So if we're inclined to consider a resolution, whether for or against, The issue is whether we want to put forth a public hearing notice date, and the suggested date looks to be December 16. What's the thought there? We had some comment tonight in public comment. It might be worth having a public hearing on it. Mr. Simpson.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I agree. I think a public hearing would be a good thing for us to do. I would like to hear more from the public. I know there was a gentleman that spoke earlier this evening. I thought he made some good points, and I would welcome further comment along that line.
Very good. Mr. Branstad, you good with that? So
Yeah, I think
December 16, assuming that the agenda permits, we'll do the public hearing on the proposed resolution in support, or again, levy.
Then, Deputy Mayor, do you want to do the public hearing and then take action that same evening? Because legally you can, or do you want to wait until your next regular meeting to take action?
I think we can go ahead and schedule it for action, because we can decide not to take action or to defer it for a week at that time, too.
That's correct, but I just, okay,
Right.
thank you.
Did you have a comment, Mr. Branstad?
I think I'd prefer to have the public hearing, listen to it, and schedule it for action on January 6th, so I can digest the comments and perhaps understand that rather than that. And just as a general matter on almost all topics, holding a public hearing and 2 minutes later acting on it doesn't give the right amount of credibility to the public hearing process. So I'd rather hold the public hearing as recommended, but plan to schedule any action in January.
You're allowing the schedule to let Ms. Barth off the hook in that case, unless we're going to have a 5th Monday meeting in December just for you.
We're going to have a party?
Mr. Caulfield, are you available?
December 31st, the day when we can take that.
Oh, I think that would be a beautiful thing. Oh, yeah, right before New Year's Eve. That would be great.
Yeah, okay. I'll be here.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine with that, but the question is whether or not that should be fine in advance of their February. Are they looking at February for their public vote? Do we have a consensus on that to push it out for action in January? Okay, there you go.
Okay, so public
So we'll get
hearing
into
on
the public hearing.
12/16, and then consideration or action on
Oop,
the
that works.
6th of
Yep.
January 2020.
Yep, that'd be
Roger
fine.
that. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Very good. Anything else, Mr. Caulfield? Any questions of Mr. Caulfield based on his report? Councilmember Branstad?
Ms. Colvin, actually, in related to a previous report and then some discussion that we had regarding the fact that we were noting the presumed outcome of Initiative 976, and that the city was braced to be able to proceed based on how voters had decided and moved forward. So I was surprised to get an email that said that the Association of Washington Cities had decided to join a lawsuit seeking to overturn I-976. And my question was Lakewood polled by AWC in their process of deciding to do that?
They did not, Councilmember Branstad. That was something that the AWC board did on their own. Though I will tell you that AWC and the board has a lot, because my understanding is the premise of their lawsuit is that it usurps local control. And so historically, that's been AWC's position, so that's the purpose of their lawsuit, as I understand it. But again, in answer to your question, the answer is no, the board did it on their own accord.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Caulfield? Good. With that, then we'll turn to City Council comments. Councilmember Moss. Councilmember Barth.
By the time I'm done here on December 30th, all have figured out how to use this. Oh, no, 30th. No, I think that's 30th. I know. Anyway, I just wanted to make a comment. I went down to Shelton, or up to Shelton last week, and went to the Washington State Patrol track there, and I got to observe quite intimately the training for our officers on the track down there. And, you know, my admiration for our Lakewood PD just grows and grows every day. We've got the best of the best, and the training facility that they use is owned by Washington State Patrol, but the way they set it up to teach our officers and some of the nearby cities, they send their officers there too. But it was really a treat to get to watch watch them in action. So my hat is off to them.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Brandstetter.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Mayor. In follow-up with the comments that we've had about the professionalism of our police officers, and that I've received a significant number of comments from both the Springbrook and the Korean American community regarding how our officers handled the incident with the murder at the McCord Mart. And they were particularly appreciative of the fact that not only that the investigation proceeded professionally into a very positive outcome, but that also that there was a real awareness of the sensitivity of that incident, and the desire of the communities involved to be kept informed and to know what's going on, and that the police department, and particularly Chief Zorro, did an exceptionally good job, and that was recognized by those communities. And they said that they think it harbored very well for future relations to be able to go through and do that. I guess I would also say that I was pleased with the texts of the two versions of the Indigenous People and Land Acknowledgement Statements. I think, you know, the initial reading and use of the one today, you know, I think that there's a real appropriateness to that, and that I think it's those are things that will have a role in public events going forward, where that's something that should be a part of the theme that's going on. And so I guess I would ask that, you know, that this particular committee be at our next quarterly recognition ceremony be recognized for these products, being able to go and do that, and that you know, that's is something that I think that they have done that is of real value. That's all I have, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Councilmember Simpson. Very good. On the proclamations tonight, I agree that the recognition of the Indigenous peoples statement is a wise thing to do. I think we just got to make sure we're judicious about when we use it. I was at Oregon State for Parents Weekend 2 weekends ago, and right before this national comedian came out and addressed the parents of this comedy club, they read the statement, and it was the first time I'd ever heard that. It was just a disconnect for the event. So I think it can be well done. I don't think it was well done there, because it was kind of just out of context, not a place. I thought it was well done tonight. So happy to take a look at that for sure. Busy week coming up. We've got lots of events going on this week and next as we head into the holidays, so there's lots on our plate. I appreciate the brevity of tonight's meeting, and we went through a fair number of things on the consent agenda, which lessened the time together. I do look forward to getting further information this week about the outcome of what's going on with the QFC project. If they come in, I did get a connection with their attorney, just in passing, as attorneys do on occasion, and he referenced an interest in presenting some sort of productive approach toward it to staff. And I said, they're always receptive to productive approaches. Feel free to contact the city manager. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
From the legal department's perspective, this case is at a different point than
It
we
is now.
typically are when we sit down to chat about things. The appeal period has expired, and the ruling's out there, and the petitioner, the person who wanted, is going to have to get the permits,
And they have
had
to
declared.
provide the cost estimates, is that right, based upon the analysis? So they have to
And-
provide
and-
us.
Yes, and they had declared themselves the victor in the hearing, so they got what they wanted according to everything they told the newspaper.
Right.
Not to be flip, but that was their position. And so they've not appealed it, and now they want to meet. And now we have a record of a hearing examiner saying what he said about the building.
Right.
So it puts us in a much different position than we would have been if we had
Good.
had those chats earlier.
Sounds great. Well, if there's no other further comment, I am pleased to announce that the council were, not that pleased, but I'm pleased to announce anyway, that we're going to recess into executive session for about 10 minutes pursuant to RCW 423110 sub 1 to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in any official capacity is or likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. We're not expected to take final action following the executive session. And with that, we are adjourned. We will be adjourned following the 10-minute executive session. I thought we'd adjourn ahead of time just for fun.